Hello, thank you for watching. First tonight, a former police detective accused of failing to follow up tip-offs about grooming gangs in Rotherham has been cleared of misconduct. It was alleged that Detective Sergeant David Walker failed to record and investigate information about child sexual exploitation. He told a panel that he was untrained and under-resourced when he led a specialist unit investigating organised abuse in the town. Corinne Wheatley can tell us more now. Corinne, what complaints were made about him?
Well, the specialist unit led by Detective Sergeant David Walker was based here at Maltby Police Station. And over the last few weeks, the misconduct panel has heard claims that between 2009 and 2012, he failed to record and act on information about children being groomed and abused in Rotherham. Specifically, that he failed to follow up on emails sent to him by a social worker. But David Walker, who retired in 2018, told the panel that he'd been parachuted into this role with no training, and there was a very high caseload, but he said it was ludicrous to suggest that he'd show no interest in following up on this information. Well, the panel cleared him of misconduct. They said that he had acted appropriately with the information that he was given, and they described him as hard-working, diligent and professional.
And Corinne, other officers were investigated too. What was the outcome?
Yes, that's right. Following the J report in 2014, which revealed the scale of the Rotherham abuse scandal, the Independent Office for Police Conduct began investigating the way that police had dealt with this issue. They investigated 47 officers, 8 were found to have a case to answer for misconduct, and 6 were found to have a case to answer for gross misconduct. Well, the social worker who sent the emails to David Walker was Jayne Senior, and she was one of the key whistleblowers in the Rotherham grooming scandal.
We put a sergeant on the stand. You know, where's the inspectors, the chief inspectors, you know, where's the people that held the budgets that could have actually done something and could have made a difference, you know. And, you know, we're 7 years into this, 7 years. That is a long time, again, to go through something just so harrowing for so many people. It's kind of like re-traumatising people. We've got to stop this. We've got to kind of draw a line under it at some stage.
Well, some victims have been very unhappy with this process because they say that no one has really been held accountable for what they describe as failings. Elizabeth was abused in 2003 and she came forward in 2015. She says that she and other victims felt they were not listened to.
I actually believe that that kind of attitude towards people is actually an organisational, like a culture thing. One thing that we've all suffered and we've all got in common, not just the abuse, is the suppression. And every time we try and get our voices heard, they're shut down quickly. Why is that?
Well, the MP for Rotherham, Sarah Champion, has released a statement this afternoon. In it, she says, while this misconduct hearing has now concluded, it's abundantly clear that this was far larger than the failings of any one officer. Well, the Independent Office for Police Conduct is now expected to release its full report now that the misconduct hearings are concluded.
OK, Corinne Wheatley, live in Maltby. Thank you very much. So the former detective in this case has been cleared. He was the last of 47 past and present officers who had been investigated by the Independent Office for Police Conduct, the IOPC. Earlier, I spoke to solicitor David Greenwood, who's been campaigning for compensation for the victims of grooming. I asked him whether he thinks victims will find out who's responsible for what happened.
I'm not sure they will through the current process that we have. It's taken quite a lot of persuasion to get my clients, the ladies that I represent, to speak to the IOPC in the first place. You can imagine that back in 2014, when the J report came out and ladies came to me, that they didn't have a lot of confidence in South Yorkshire Police at that time. But with Operation Linden opening and a lot of resources being put into it, we were optimistic that it would give a decent amount of accountability. It turns out that it hasn't, and I'm questioning whether the bar has been set too high by the procedures that the discipline process has to follow.
The IOPC says it will issue their report on the matter at some point in the not too distant future, one would imagine. Are you hopeful that might in turn provide some answers?
Definitely. If anyone's interested in reading that report, it will provide a lot of detail of the specifics of complaints that have been made. Obviously, the IOPC have done a great job at taking statements. They spent hours and hours with my clients piecing together what was happening or not happening when. So there's a lot of detail in there, and it will be a full report, I believe.
These processes clearly have their place, but one would imagine they're quite traumatising for the victims to have to go through all this again, effectively.
Absolutely, they are. The only crumb of comfort for the victims of Rotherham who have been involved with the National Crime Agency is that that agency has been able to deliver some justice through the criminal justice system. That's really the only thing that has come out in terms of accountability of the perpetrators themselves, which counts for a lot. But it would be nice to know that the council and the police officers who have statutory duties to protect these young people were held accountable.
And what finally, if anything, do you think could give the survivors some kind of closure?
Oh, well, I don't think the ladies that I represent will ever find closure. If anyone listening or watching this programme is a survivor of child sexual abuse, they will realise that it's with them for the rest of their lives. Closure is not something that is used in our parlance, in our world. It's something that the victims have to live with, unfortunately.
OK, David Greenwood, thank you for coming in and talking to us today. Next tonight, concerns have been raised about how the increased cost of living will affect those claiming benefits such as universal credit and state pension. Over